Hey guys, so this video is a immediate follow-up to the video over checking for reliability. Alright, so once we've checked for reliability and once we've made sure that the different items on our scale, so like our Rosenberg self-esteem scale or our subjective ambivalence scale or really any scale that's been designed with multiple questions. Once you've checked the reliability of the items to make sure that they all ask the same thing, and you find a Cronbach's alpha of 0.7 or above, now we can aggregate or combine all of those items into a single item, and that single item would serve as our index. All right, it would serve as a single number that numerically represents whatever concept it is that we're looking at or that we were measuring. So let's say we take the Rosenberg self-esteem scale that has 10 items. Well, if we looked at the Cronbach's alpha for those 10 items, we'd probably find that it has a Cronbach's alpha of 0.7 or above. Well, now we have 10 different items, each of them measuring self-esteem in a slightly different way. Well, now we need to aggregate them. We need to combine them in some way to have so that we have one number for each participant representing how high each participant's self-esteem is, with higher numbers representing greater self-esteem and lower numbers representing less self-esteem. So first we have our reliability. We check that, make sure it's above 0.7. Now we need to combine them. Well, we can combine them in two different ways. We can either average them or we can sum them. Probably the most common way, however, is to average them. And so that's the way that I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to share the screen with you. All right, so here we have two different measures or two different scales. We have a subjective ambivalence scale, so we have participants answering the extent to which they felt conflicted, the extent to which they felt confused, and the extent to which they felt indecisive about a particular attitude object. So we might ask them what they feel about exercise, all right? And so they would tell us the extent to which they felt conflicted about exercise, the extent to which they felt confused about exercise, and the extent to which they felt indecisive about exercise. Then we also have three items here that are our questions, that are three different questions on our measure of perceived childhood income. So we've got three different items there. So now we need, and we've already checked the reliability for each of these, and they're both 0.7 or above. And so now we need to aggregate these into a single index of subjective ambivalence, and we need to aggregate these into a subjective ambivalence, or into a single index of perceived childhood income. So let's first work with subjective ambivalence. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on transform. We're going to go to compute variable, and we're going to come up with a name that makes us, or will remind us, what that aggregate is. So, you know, since we're going to do subjective ambivalence, we could do SA, or we could do SAABE. You know, whatever is going to make the most sense to you, what that index is. We're going to come over here and we're going to scroll down until we find statistical, and we're going to move mean. We're going to select mean, and we're going to move it up with a 0. Now, if you can see in here, I'll try and zoom in. No, I'm not going to be able to. Okay. So if you look right here, you'll see in the parentheses 2 question marks. Well, you can go ahead and delete those because they're not really that important. And then move each value, each item, over into the parentheses, but separate the items with a comma. So move the second one over there, comma, third one over there. All right, so you can see the first subjective ambivalence item with it, and then a comma following it, the second with a comma following it, and the third. All right, so there's 3 items and commas separated. And then, okay, that's it. We go back to our data, and there's our index of subjective ambivalence. And we do the same thing with perceived childhood income. Again, we're just going to go to transform, compute variable. We're going to come up with a name that reminds us of what it is. So PCAV. We're going to start from the beginning just so you follow the whole thing. We're going to come over here, go to statistical, select mean, move it up, and delete those question marks. And I'm going to move the items over with commas in between them. And then, okay. Again, we go to our data, and there's our index. So there's our index of subjective ambivalence, and there's our index of perceived childhood income. And so this is an average of these three items, and this is an average of these three. And so these are the items we would actually use in our data analysis, in our regression, or whatever analysis we were going to run. All right? And that is it for this video on how to make indices, or how to make an index from the multiple items of a single measure. All right, guys, that's it for this one. I'll see you later.